In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
Stars and stripes, a revolution needs a war.
Speaking of government, Roger here with Snare Trap Surviving Hemming Outdoors, doing a no camera broadcast this time, just a podcast. We're talking about the government and the problems that they're creating for us right now. And I'm sure all of you have been watching it. What I'm talking about is the government shutdown, and we're going into the third week. This coming up Saturday. And it's looking like it's going to affect a lot of people. And this is one of the things that I've been talking about that's been coming for a long time. And I don't see, I think if this were under any other president, it would probably end pretty quick. But Trump is stubborn, and in some cases that's good, and in some cases that can be bad. And in this case, I think it's going to be bad. And I was just reading an article here about the partial government shutdown, and it's the food stamp program is what's about to be impacted. And that is a serious issue. And that brings us right back to the Snare Trap Survive thing. may end up seeing a situation where people have to get out and start snaring and trapping to survive. We could, if this thing continues on, if this thing goes on for any length of time, we could be looking at a situation as serious, if not more serious, than the Great Depression. And I know a lot of people's going to say, well, no, Roger, that's not going to happen. But look around you, people. Look around you, and just how close we are to literally starving, going without. I mean, if you're like me, and I'm sure most of us are in this boat, we're living paycheck to paycheck. And you take one paycheck, cut it out. It's hard on us, the working class. It's hard on us to get food if you cut just one paycheck out. Imagine the millions of people who are not working, those who can't work, and they're going to have their food literally taken off of the table. That's what we're looking at. And they've appropriated $3 billion in emergency funding for SNAP, a Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. $3 billion has been appropriated, but that's not going to make it through to February. Now, excuse me. The last month for which data was available, and it's in September of 2018. The last month for which data is available had showing $4.7 billion is what went out for food stamps, and we've got $3 billion appropriated. Okay, that's going to leave 1.7 billion people without food. I mean, take that in for a minute. Think about that. 1.7 billion people without food. And if the shutdown continues on through March, there'll be no remaining funding. Now, get a grip on that for a moment. If it continues on through into March, there will be no funding. Okay, it's 4.7 billion gone. And a while ago I said 1.7 billion people, but I mean, it's going to be millions of people. I meant to say it's 1.7 billion dollars that will not be appropriated. So that's millions of Americans. And this this is what we have been telling people, that we're moving towards something like this is going to happen. And you've got people who have not gotten prepared. Um, they have just ignored all of the signs, and now it's upon us. Okay. Now, it's not that complicated to go out and buy what you need and set it aside and have it for situations like this. And I'm pulling up our website right now. Excuse me, I've been trying to get sick here recently. It's not that expensive either to get prepared. Okay, I'm going to pull up here. I'm just going to take one off the top of the page here. 156 servings of freeze-dried fruit is $164. And now you're going to say, oh, that's a lot of money, $164. But that's 156 servings. Okay, if it got really bad and you had to cut down to one serving a day just to sustain yourself. Now your belly's going to rumble, but just to sustain yourself. Now that's 156 days right there that you could go. Now the emergency freeze-dried breakfast is 120 servings. That's $239. And to me, I don't think that's a lot of money to keep me from starving to death. Now, if this thing gets bad, I'm talking super bad, there is always something that can be done. I mean, and there's people out there that I know who has the money, who can step up and help some of these people who are starving. We're not going to be able to help everybody. And I've been thinking about that, and I'm thinking to myself, I get a lot of these supplies at wholesale. And if we end up facing a situation like that, I think I'm going to let a lot of these bulking kits, bulk survival kits go at wholesale price. And hopefully there'll be people out there who will step up and buy some and distribute them out as needed. Now, I know there's companies that are going to be making a profit off of this. I don't want to make a profit off of people starving. I'm not going to make a profit off of people starving. Take, for example, this 1,440 serving entree and breakfast. It normally retails for like $2,700. And I can get those for $1,500. That would feed a lot of people. 1,440 servings. But the main point I want to make here is we are there. The time is here, people. The time has come that we're facing that big government snafu that everyone's been talking about. The not necessarily a shit hit the fan scenario, but it is a bad scenario nonetheless. Now, could this develop into that shit hit the fan scenario? Most definitely. You take millions of starving people and they become desperate. Things are going to change. Things are going to change really fast. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with disaster management, emergency management, but I spent 22 years in emergency services. And I can tell you right now that if this goes the way it's headed, if it makes it to the bottom of this pit that we're heading into, we're going to have about 48 hours before all hell breaks loose. If it doesn't happen before that, if it doesn't happen within the first 36 hours, it definitely will happen within 42. And you're going to see people on the streets robbing, taking anything that they can get, those who are able. Those who are not able are just going to sit at home, bless their hearts, and starve to death. You know, and I have two elderly parents. And if it were not for me, they would sit here and they would starve. Because neither one of them are able to work or able to go out and catch food. And I'm going to tell you, if it comes down to that, and I can't afford it on the small amount of money that I make, game warden or not, I'm going out and I'm bringing food home. I've got the snares, I've got the traps, I've got the rifles. I'm going to go out and I'm going to bring food home. Bottom line. So take everything that I'm saying here, take this in and think about it for a moment. We are at that point where things could go south really quick. And if you know people who are going to be affected by this, by all means, please be getting in touch with them and telling them, hey, we need to work out a plan. Because the government's not going to be there for you. They're not going to come to your rescue. We already see that. And I think we already knew that to begin with. They're not going to come to your rescue. When it comes down to the bottom line, it's you fending for yourself. There is not going to be any FEMA coming to help you or the Red Cross. They'll be overwhelmed in the first day. So you need to put that in the back of your mind for the next couple of days here leading up to this countdown. This last week, this is going to be the breaking point. If it continues past this weekend, the funding's going to be cut the following month, and some people are going to go hungry. And there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say, this is not going to happen. It's going to get fixed. And it may get fixed. I hope it does. But if it doesn't get fixed, we're in for one hell of a ride. Anyway, that's it for tonight. My thoughts. No, it wasn't anything huge as far as uh, major information, but just something I want you to think about where we're headed with this government shutdown and where it could end up taking us. Because honestly, folks, I think that we're going to be hurting. I'd like to bring on in another couple of nights or so. I'd like to bring Mr. Bruce Hemming on here and talk to Bruce about his opinion, his on this situation, where it could go. And I'm also going to bring on a gentleman who is trained in emergency management and very, very knowledgeable in this field. And I'm going to talk with him about where he thinks this could be headed to. Watch for that podcast coming up. And guys, jump over and check out our website, www.snare-trap-survive.com. Also follow us on social media, YouTube, and all of that good stuff. And I'll see you on the next podcast.
To our problem, government is the problem.
Stars and stripes. A revolution needs a war, and this war needs